Hey, it's Phil here. Today I'm going to answer the question, or at least I'm going to give my opinion on whether you should learn programming. And there's a reason people are asking this question, and that's because we're in a period of steep change. And a lot of people are saying, particularly futurists, are saying that it's only going to get more steep. We're in a period of increasing steepness of change. And that's partly on account of the maturity of the AI. So we've if you've ever seen a picture of the hype curve, it starts with stuff getting very hypey and then sort of leveling out. And then there's a period of readjustment where things actually get useful, and we're actually seeing artificial intelligence start to finally do that in quite a lot of areas. And in particular, the reason people are talking about this in context of programming is that AI is getting really quite good at writing code. So models like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and the like are doing quite well at writing code. And we're even starting to see the rise of a new kind of coding, which people are calling vibe coding, where the IDE has a built-in AI agent which takes commands from you and will interact with the code and do a lot of the work for you, so you don't actually ever write a line of code, or very rarely. And these better tools are even getting better day to day. So what does this mean for programming? Well, I guess a lot of futurists are saying that this is going to cause structural unemployment, and that is going to affect all sorts of industries, not just programming. But yeah, in particular, because the AI is getting so good at programming, people are wondering whether they should even bother. So I guess what some more detailed questions could be are, what does the AI revolution mean for software jobs? Another one might be, what jobs could I choose otherwise? And I think an important question is there still a role for programming and perhaps systems thinking in this new world? So first of all, I guess this is an opinion piece. So feel free to disagree with me, and I could totally be wrong about this stuff. I'm not an expert. So, but this is what I think. I think the AI revolution for the interim will mean a lot of jobs for programmers, and in particular those people working on AI models. But I think for the next little while we're still going to be doing a lot of programming. We're just going to be able to be more productive, and that's good. It's good for programmers. One of the absolutely clear trends in software development is that there is always more than enough work to do, and it's just a matter of being pragmatic about which work that you undertake and get a return on investment on. And the AI is going to mean that we will be able to get more stuff done, which will mean better tools for everybody. And I think that that's ultimately a good thing. I think that there's a case for people collecting data sets for embodied workers, and I think that that's probably a pretty good medium-term business idea. People collecting data sets for building, construction, kitchen work, farming, anything, anything in a varied and dynamic environment where you can collect data like video, accelerometer data, that kind of thing I think that will be a valuable data set for somebody who's going to be trying to, automate stuff, whether it be robots or, some other kind of autonomous, worker. I think that's going to be valuable information. And so collecting data or, working with tools that collect the data, programming and curating and labeling that data is probably going to be a really good interim career option. That's what I think. I think that it's going to get a lot easier to write code. As of today, I still write a hell of a lot of code by hand, but so I use Copilot a lot. It's built into what we do at work, and its completions are getting a lot better, and I think that it makes me faster on most days, but it is not a panacea yet. I think that there's still a place for discretion. Vibe coding is still supervised, at least for now, and the models don't have any common sense. Like, they know what they know. They have really good general knowledge, but actually they, at least in some circumstances, don't know what they don't know, and you need to point out where they've made a mistake. They work really quite well in a constrained environment with clear requirements, and if you can, so your job as a Vibe coder now is to identify those pieces of the application that could be built within a constrained environment and clear requirements, and state those clearly to the application, so the application knows what it has to write. I think in some ways that's easier, and in other ways that's more difficult, and you're going to have to be more careful about how you state it. I think that English is a really poor choice of specification language, and you'll have to work with the applications on getting your requirements actually working. And people are sort of reporting that features are fast to build when you've got a good Vibe workflow. I haven't any direct experience of that, and I want to try it soon. But yeah, I hear people around me talking directly to me about, they think that this is a good workflow and it works. So the engineering and the architecture modes of software development are still going to be important, and I think that overall they are going to more and more start to dominate the discipline. So that will mean that you might not write so much code, you might not write so much plumbing, but you will still have to think about how pieces interoperate with each other, where they live, how they're deployed, how much stuff costs to run, and so on. That's going to start to dominate the role of a software developer, rather than cutting code. And in the same way that people no longer write assembly in their day-to-day lives, we've sort of gone up layers over layers, and the amount of difficulty that we'll have to the amount of difficulty in specifying a thing that you want to accomplish is going to get easier. And I think that there's an argument at some point that the amount of skill, your skill set, will reduce to be able to achieve things. But I still think that there is a place for systems thinking. In the near term, I think that understanding software and programming is going to be really valuable, in particular in debugging really bad AI generated source code. For now, it's still making a lot of mistakes, and so if you can identify those mistakes, and that that is a skill set of its own, but it is very closely aligned with software development and programming. You're going to have to be able to read the code that these things write, at least for their interim. Typing "it doesn't work" into the model is, at least for now, is not good enough, and some of the time it will pick it up, but you're going to have to be more direct. Okay, so what jobs could you choose otherwise? Well, I think a good start would be something where you interact directly with people. I tried out hairdressing for a little bit, I think that's good for you as a programmer anyway, because you get to learn to talk to people a little bit better. And for me, I was painfully shy, and getting practice doing that was really helpful for me. But I guess having a personal touch and personal contact with somebody is something that, at least for the interim, AIs and robots are not going to be able to simulate. And one day soon they might as well. But I think that you have a pretty good head start by being able to choose something like that. So yeah, what would you choose? I mean, being a personal shopper, a chef, I think that it's maybe a carer. There's an orderly at a rest home or something like that. There are a lot of really important jobs that are, if we don't have programming jobs to do, I'm sure we can find things that are helpful for some other person that the robots aren't quite capable of doing just yet. I don't know if you really should be singling programming out as the job that's going to be automated away, because I personally think that structural unemployment is going to come for everyone. And what will inevitably happen is that we'll all end up being one of two things: an entrepreneur, where you are owning and running a business composed of artificial intelligence and robots and autonomous things that are so cheap to run that you would never consider hiring a person to do those jobs. And that probably means that life will be, basically everything will be cheap. And the other thing that could happen is that we might all be beneficiaries, and it might be a mix of both of those two situations. The argument that everybody needs to work gets really hard when there's these productive robots out there doing everything that everybody used to do. Do we really need to have jobs? Is it really important that everybody contributes? These are some questions that we're going to have to answer. Instead of a job, you might think about some things that you want to take up as hobbies instead. I'd love to go and do a fine arts degree, and I don't think that the reason I've never done it is that I don't think it'll pay that well being an artist. In fact, they talk about being a starving artist. But if we're going to be basically living for free, maybe we should just do what we want. You don't need to think about this stuff until you actually, you're looking around yourself and nobody's got anything to do. But, take up swimming or running or an art or a sport. There's lots of other stuff that you could be doing aside from a job. So it's not the end of the world if we're all put out of work by this stuff. And some of these things are going to retain a boutique-like status. It's very, very cheap to buy pottery nowadays, but people will still buy handmade pottery and love it. So think about that, maybe not for software, handmade software, perhaps not, but yeah, let's see what happens. And I want to make a case for programming regardless of a job. See, I think that knowing and understanding how things work is a reward in its own on its own merit, and the ability to talk to people about how things work is a good skill and perhaps may be valuable in its own right. And I think, and this is, I'm a programmer, so this is sort of biased opinion, but I think programming is kind of fun, and so is problem solving, and those are the kind of things that you will still end up doing whenever you touch a computer, I think. So that looks set to continue even for the moment. So yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I don't have a conclusion or anything. So if you liked this, if you hated it, let me know, like and comment below. Thanks.